The books on the shelves were well organized, a stark contrast to the shelves themselves being of different colors. The woman, known only as the Bookworm, sat in front of her camera. Her hair took frustratingly long minutes to style, her lipstick meticulously painted. Her skin so fair it gave her the appearance of Snow White. She took a deep breath to prepare herself and began talking about the most film noir book she had ever encountered. Hey bookworms, welcome back to my channel and to another retro review, the series on my channel where I review classic novels. Now, before we get started, if classic book reviews is something that interests you, please subscribe to my channel and feel free to browse around my classics playlist on my channel where you can watch me talk about anything from gothic novels to novels of manners. So, a while ago I came across a list of The Guardian's 100 best novels in English, and The Guardian is a newspaper, and as a lover of classic literature of all times, I decided to try and get through as many of the books there as possible. Now, in the past, when I talked about classic novels, I almost exclusively talked about 19th century novels. Victorian novels. However, today we're moving to the 20th century, albeit the beginning of it. Today I will be talking about The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett, which was written in 1930. Now, this is a classic hard-boiled film noir detective novel if I ever read one. Its protagonist is Sam Spade, a serious and keen-eyed private detective who is cool under pressure as he is warm with the ladies. And one day, a young woman approaches him and asks for his help finding her sister who ran off with a no-good fella. Or that's at least how things start. Soon Spade discovered a grand scheme that started in the other side of the world surrounding a priceless artifact and many people who would stop at nothing in order to get it. Guys, I had so much fun reading this book. It is delightfully cliché, although obviously the noir clichés came later and mostly due to this book. So on one hand, respect for this book for basically starting a subgenre, but on the other hand, today you cannot escape just how many times we've seen references to elements from this book, so take that into account and consciously ignore them as you read this book. Honestly, I don't have too much to say about this novel. As a detective book, it's okay, it's pretty cool. At times though, I did wonder why is it so famous. The mystery itself, it's not that special. But again, this novel was almost the first of its kind. When I checked what was the first hard-boiled detective novel, and hard-boiled is basically the film noir of novels, Dr. Google claimed that it's another Hammett novel that came out the year previously, so basically, yes, The Maltese Falcon is pretty much the first of its kind. In addition, I also want to point out some great writing in this book. It is very descriptive, which may somewhat bore some of you action junkies. I even remember a few lines describing exactly how Spade rolled and lit his cigarettes. But the story is very interesting, with many twists and turns, to the extent that what I described earlier in the plot synopsis doesn't even come close to what actually turned out to really happen here. Another thing I absolutely loved in this book were the characters. We have a bunch of them, each so different from each other. They play off each other so well. It's almost a social experiment to see how they interact. In addition, the tone of the book was very noir and very dark, but also rather funny at times due to Spade's no-nonsense sarcasm. This might also be the book's downfall today, because I totally see how many people wouldn't like how, let's say, lightly people discuss the death of a close friend who left a mourning wife behind, for example. Which leads me to a very relevant topic with this book especially. When I read these old-timey novels, I always ask myself, how would this plotline look today? Would modern audience like it? Would it still work today the way it did back then? And unfortunately, in this case, it definitely wouldn't. As far as reading a good, entertaining book goes, sure, fine. I enjoyed it. It has an interesting, compelling mystery to it. However, there are two very big issues here that I don't think devalue the book, but need to be discussed. First, as I mentioned before, tons of elements, plot points, storytelling techniques, etc. are by now, almost a century later, so overused they become cliches. Just think of my intro. I tried to base it on the writing style of the book and the way Hammett described people, but I'm sure you've seen it before, and even playing it straight the way I did makes it look like a parody. By the way, write down in the comment section your favorite references to film noir narration style from other works. The second issue is, to put it simply, that this book is very politically incorrect. Now, I don't mind politically incorrectness, especially when I read something that old, but today in woke times, I think it would upset many people. But honestly, if you read a book from the 1930s and are upset that there isn't a, I don't know, powerful black woman there, and you're looking in the wrong place. So I'll just mention it here because it is there and needed to be addressed. But also, if you are sensitive to these topics, maybe knowing about them beforehand will help you not to get so upset. Because, you know, those times were those times. For example, there are 3 women in this book. A weepy damsel in distress, a femme fatale, and a sassy street-smart girl. There's also a very queer-coded male character who is once referred to as a fairy, and I was really surprised there were no references in the book to some big-nosed Jew. But we do have some good old machoism and toxic masculinity here for good measure, so we're good. Honestly, guys, I was neither surprised nor bothered by these things, and I think you shouldn't be either. But I do acknowledge that this book could not work today, so at least we can be thankful that the Maltese Falcon will not be getting a brand new movie adaptation. I do, however, want to see the 1940s version with Humphrey Bogart. So let's conclude. I really enjoyed this book. It was, as I mentioned before, delightfully cliché. It was the classiest of noir classics. It was fun. It made me laugh. It kept me on the edge of my seat. It kept me guessing and wondering. I highly recommend it. The book became so commonplace, however, the ending did somewhat surprise me, so it's not 100% cliche. And regardless, I think this book is a must-read for fans of early 20th century culture and detective book fans. So guys, that was my review on the Maltese Falcon. Thank you so much for watching my review, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like and share it, and also subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any other literary upload I make. Also, leave me a comment below and share your favorite noirs, whether original or references in other works. Guys, thanks again for watching, and I will see you on my next video. Bye bye.